Hello, my name is Trevon Fordham, and I would like to welcome you to the 2021 South Carolina Department of Public Safety, Office of Highway Safety and Justice Programs Virtual Grants Workshop. Usually, we hold this grant workshop in person, but this year, we are exercising due caution in delivering the information to you about criminal justice and juvenile justice grants virtually. Each grant program presentation contains information about our agency, the South Carolina Department of Public Safety, our office, the Office of Highway Safety and Justice Programs, the grant program itself, and ways to contact each grant program coordinator. Now, I will get started with the Charles E. Grassley Title II Juvenile Justice Formula Grant Program. As you take a moment to read the quote by Miriam Wright Edelman, think about how your proposed grant project can make a difference in your community and in the lives of all youth in South Carolina. The Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act, or the JJDP Act of 1974, set the stage by providing safeguards and guiding standards for states when dealing with youth. Since 1974, the JJDP Act received several reauthorizations and amendments. The most recent amendment came with the Juvenile Justice Reform Act, or JJRA, of 2018. The JJDP Act created a partnership between the federal government and participating states that established a state advisory group that serves as the advocacy group for juvenile justice in participating states. It created the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, or the OHSJP, which provides federal oversight for juvenile justice, and the JJDP Act set aside federal funding for juvenile justice programs and services. Under the JJRA of 2018, the Title II Juvenile Justice Grant Programs was renamed the Charles E. Grassley Title II Formula Grant Program. The link below gives you access to OHSJP's website for more information. The JJDP Act set core requirements on how states should treat youth involved with the juvenile justice system. It is very important to have an idea of each of these core requirements when you are creating your application for juvenile justice funding, as all applications must relate to one of these four core requirements. Later in this presentation, we will discuss the 34 federal program and budget areas, which are also helpful when you're creating your juvenile justice grant application. The screen lists the four core requirements, which are the deinstitutionalization of status offenders, the adult jail and lockup removal core requirement, the sight and sound separation core requirement, and the racial and ethnic disparities core requirement. Now, the deinstitutionalization of status offenders core requirement seeks to ensure status offenders are not detained in secure facilities. Status offenses are acts which are criminal for youth, but not for adults. The most common examples of status offenses are running away from home, skipping school or truancy, and drug and alcohol possession. The adult jail and lockup removal core requirement seeks to remove youthful offenders from inside adult facilities. The JJDPA Act does provide several exceptions to allow temporary detention in approved adult facilities. The sight and sound separation core requirement seeks to ensure that those youth who fall under the adult jail and lockup removal core requirement are protected by sight and sound separation from prolonged exposure to adult offenders. And the racial and ethnic disparities core requirement seeks to identify and reduce disparity points in the juvenile justice system. For more information on all four of the core requirements, you can click on the link below. To be eligible for Title II Juvenile Justice Grants, applicants must be a state agency, a local unit of government, which is a town, city, or county, municipality, a federally recognized tribal jurisdiction, or a private nonprofit organization with proof of previous denial. Now, that proof of previous denial can be a letter or some other form that simply shows that you applied and were denied for funding, whether it be from our office, from a local government, from state government, or federal, or any other entity that shows you were denied. In addition, all new and first-year applications must have at least 3 letters of support submitted with their application. Letters of support can come from local stakeholders, community partners, or other sources that pledge support for your proposed grant project. Not having letters of support may cause a delay in your application review or even the denial of funding. Now, I will highlight a few program requirements. The Title II Juvenile Justice Formula Grant Program is 100% federal funding. There is no match. All proposed grant applications must promote juvenile justice and delinquency prevention, as well as systematic improvements in your community or statewide. Each grant applicant will need to reapply annually, and grant funding covers 3 years. Below, you will find a link for the Title II Formula Grant Program that gives you more information. This slide lists the allowable expenses, which are expenses that you can buy or pay for with Title II funds. A few of those expenses are for personnel, training, as long as it's part of the overall project, operating expenses, equipment, and supplies. All training must relate to your project application. The cost of space is allowed for the benefit of the project, but there are special conditions that apply. All expenses listed in the grant application must relate to one of the 4 core requirements or the federal program and budget areas. There are other allowable expenses that may not be listed on this slide. Under the Title II Juvenile Justice Formula Grant Program, unallowable expenses are things you cannot use Title II funds to buy or pay for. Some of those expenses are expenditures that are not approved in your initial grant application, supplanting purchases, the purchase of land, vehicles, or any new construction, unless you have an approval by the OHSJP administrator for new construction. The link at the bottom of this slide will take you to Grant Definitions 101, which provides more information on those definitions like supplanting and other terms related to grant funding. This slide shows the federal program and budget areas. OHSJP identified these priorities as the only areas where Title II funds may be used. It is important to remember when you're developing your juvenile justice project, please be sure that your grant application falls within one of the federal program and budget areas, or your application will not be reviewed. For more information on the federal program and budget areas, you may click on the link below. Based on the federal program and budget areas set by OHSJP, each participating state must set their own priority areas for funding. South Carolina's budget areas focus on community-based projects that address status offenders not being placed in secure detention, projects that divert youth away from further system involvement, projects that seek to reduce racial and ethnic disparities, as well as projects that research evidence-based practices for juvenile justice across the state. Potential subgrantees always ask me how they can write a great grant application. Well, the first thing you should know is your proposed project should fall within one of the federal program and budget areas. Next, be sure your proposed project addresses at least one of the 4 core requirements. And also, be sure that your proposed project aligns with one of South Carolina's priority program areas listed on this slide. For more information, you can click on the link below to see OHSJP's Model Programs Guide. This slide contains the important dates for the Title II Juvenile Justice Grant Program. The first important date is Friday, February 12, 2021. That is when the grant solicitation will be released. All new users must register in SCDPS grants by Friday, April 2nd, 2021 by 5 p.m. and all Title II Juvenile Justice Formula Grant applications are due on Friday, April 16th, 2021 by 5 p.m. This is important because our office will not accept applications after that deadline. Grant announcements for denials and awards will be mailed around September or October 2021, and the grant period for this FY 2021 grant funding is October 1, 2021 to September 30, 2022. Thank you for your interest in applying for Charles E. Grassley Title II Juvenile Justice Formula Grant Funds. If you have any questions about this PowerPoint or anything juvenile justice related, please feel free to contact me as my information is listed on the slide. This concludes the juvenile justice portion of the 2021 South Carolina Department of Public Safety, Office of Highway Safety and Justice Programs virtual workshop. Thank you and take care.